At first, like to ask Jasper, who, yeah.
What
So,
country is Jasper in right now?
Jasper's from Australia, so it's very early for him. So we tried in another conference to wake him up early, but he was very tired, so he sent us a video that I think will be much livelier. So first, we'd like to invite Jasper to, yeah.
Okay. Well, my name is Jasper Chin-Moody and I'm a Year 5 student from Australia. I also had the pleasure of being the author of the book Stanley and Epic, which is about sustainable homes and cities. Today I would like to talk to you about SDG 11 and how it builds a future and plays a role in the future that we want. Now, I'm going to ask myself a few questions. So, why is SDG 11 sustainable cities and communities so important? Well, SDG 11 is important because more than half the people in the world live in cities. If we make bad choices in our cities, then we will have huge impacts on the environment. And because the cities are where the society, economy, and environment come together for many people, that could result badly. Now, Australia is one of the most urban countries. Can't you believe that 86% of people in Australia live in urban communities? So we need SDG 11 to try and work with the urban communities to improve the planet. Now, how has coronavirus kind of changed how SDG 11 works? Well, we have seen what it would be like if cities lived more sustainably. And because people are having problems with jobs, there are less things harming the environment. So we're using less planes to fly, less cars to travel, we've been buying less things, using less invisible water, we aren't overcluttering our homes, we've been supporting local people and businesses, we've been kind to each other, and we've been supporting one another. And those are a lot of things that have changed because of coronavirus. Now, to make SDG 11 real, I reckon the answer is SUP. So SUP means Sustainable Urban Populations, or translates for Sustainable Urban Populations. SUP means that we have great communities that look after the environment and one another. SUP also means that we have to manage our resources under the population of the community, so not using too much stuff, because that's just using up too much resources and stuff like that. And then SUP, and finally SUP means having sustainable homes that are more environmentally friendly, that have more trees, use less water, less waste, and less carbon emissions. As we start to recover from COVID, we must look back at what happened during COVID and what the positive things were. How do we manage how much emissions we put out while employing people into jobs again? Keep supporting local businesses and people. Now, how can we learn this from this time to be kind to everyone else? As we open our lives and our communities, let's just say SUP. Thanks.
Thank you very much. And now I'd like to invite someone who's been with the Eco Council for the whole duration of our formation. So that's almost a year. Who is also our treasurer and our deputy chair. And this is, of course, Harry, who's going to be speaking on behalf of the Cambridge Schools Eco Council from St. Paul's.
Okay, hello everyone, I'm Harry, I'm 10 years old. So I'm going to start by saying a few quotes that I've personally taken a liking to. So this one is by Sir David Attenborough, which is, as human beings, we are more urbanized than ever before, and we are out of touch with the natural world. Yet we are 100% dependent on its resources. And this one's by Professor Brian Cox. The grand challenges of our age, such as climate change and the ever-increasing appetite of our planet's rapidly expanding population for clean water and energy, require scientific and engineering solutions as well as political ones. And Sir Jonathan Porritt, who is a leading British environmentalist, so yay, said, the core values that underpin sustainable development, independence, empathy, equity, personal responsibility, and intergenerational justice are the only foundation upon which any viable vision of a better world can possibly be constructed. I just quite like those quotes. Now I'm going to actually get onto my speech. So the world's population has trebled since 1950. That's just crazy. 2/3 of the global population will live in cities by 2050, according to the UN. Today, it is about 55%, so that's more than half of the world's population living in cities. Urban populations are responsible for 3/4 of total consumption and half the waste the world emits. The increase in the number of city dwellers requires more food, water, and energy. Transports add to pollution and, inevitably, global warming. Natural habitats are lost as trees are cleared to make way for houses and roads, and the water table is lowered in turn. Air quality becomes toxic, as do our rivers and streams. Here in Cambridge, chalk aquifers are drying up as they are under huge pressure to supply water to the increasing population. The River Cam is effectively a giant pond. Water flow has been suspended because if there was no human intervention, it would dry up completely. Water companies are required to deliver anything that a customer demands. So if you leave a tap running, they are obliged to keep it flowing. This is madness. So that's one small example of how rapid and unsustainable growth is destroying the environment we love. So what can we do to make our cities more sustainable? We need to work with the national and local government and councils and energy and water suppliers to ensure that any proposed new developments are sustainable and minimally harmful to the environment around us. Solar panels and grey water recycling should be standard, as should the use of sustainable building materials and green roofs. We need better and more green spaces. Greener energy transport with less reliance on cars. Cycle paths and expressways. Better footpaths that are well lit and safe and have like trees and stuff on them. And easy to access recycling facilities and composting. Local community shops with low green mileage. Local urban farms to supply to local areas. And there is no point in building unsustainable communities now if we're going to have to modify them later. That would be a huge financial loss. We need to work together and think creatively to solve these issues. They are solvable, and we've already come up with solutions. We've shown that we can make rapid changes with the pandemic. Why can't we do the same with the environment, which poses a bigger threat, not just to our future, but to all future generations? Thank you.
Gonna clap there. Yay. And I clapped twice because we forgot to clap for Jasper. And now I'd like to go to our global expert, Professor Laura Diaz Adona from the University of Cambridge. But I'm not going to say the rest because they're so long. So
you said it once, Nico. So thank you so much for the invitation to speak in front of this accomplished and motivated group of local and international. I didn't know that this was going to be so international environmental leaders. I'll start with a brief introduction, and then I'll try to convey 4 key messages. I know it's late in the day, you've all been hardworking, on homeschooling, so I know it's late for everybody. So after this introduction, I'll try to, make the point that we need behavior change. We need all of us to change what we do, but we also need new technologies and we need some of the technologies that we have to be used more widely. So that's the message number one. Number two is a positive message, which is that in a lot of the technologies that we're going to need to both mitigate climate change, but also make progress towards other sustainable development goals, we've made a huge amount of progress. So I think we have a lot of good news in that area. Of course, as you all know, it's not enough, but we do have a lot of progress. And the other thing that we have learned is that governments can put in place policies that make possible some of the big changes, of course, that Sue and others were talking about. So I'll mention a little bit about what governments have done around the world that have catalyzed these huge improvements in technologies. And then the last point that I will make is that we know that people support these big changes, these big policies to mitigate climate change when you have additional benefits, when you're not just addressing climate change, but you're also addressing other sustainable development goals. Jasper also mentioned jobs. So I'll try to make those 4 points very briefly. So first of all, you all know that we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, and that this is going to require both changes in individuals and civil society, is going to require changes in the behavior of businesses and national policies. What are some of these challenges that we've seen? Well, we know that we're already 1 degree above the pre-industrial global average temperature. We know that over the past 40 years, 40% of the Arctic has melted, and we know a lot of these really bad things. So all of these things have been happening over time, and we need big changes in what we do. But over the past 20 to 30 years, not everything has been bad. We have seen major improvements in technologies that we need to move away from fossil fuels, because as most of you know, fossil fuels, and in particular the use of coal and natural gas for transportation, and the use of oil in electricity and the use of oil for transportation, are responsible for around 3/4 of all our greenhouse gas emissions. So I'm going to focus mainly on electricity, on transport, and to some extent on buildings too. And it's great to see that Helene Kotter is going to be talking about buildings. So I won't talk too much about this. So what have we seen in these areas, in transportation and in electricity? Well, we have seen that over the past 40 years, the cost of solar panels has come down by 15,000, a factor of 15,000. Just for the past 10 years, the cost of solar panels has come down by 82%. If we go to wind, over the past 10 years, the cost of wind power has come down by 40%. We look to lithium-ion batteries, which are used in electric vehicles and also to store the electricity, the variable electricity for renewables, have come down by 89%. And when we look at things like illumination, solid state lighting, things we have every day, the cost of those has also come down by more than 90% over the past 10 years. So we've made huge improvements, and I could give you many other examples. So not only is lost, we've made huge improvements. And that's the second message, is that we actually know how those improvements came about. And those improvements came about through the role of governments around the world, which put in place different types of policies, some of them trying to get more research, more scientists, going to the labs, like all of the ones we have here in Cambridge University, and doing a lot of great work. So they've put a lot of decades of research, but they've also created markets. They also created regulations, such as, again, building codes, such as performance standards, such as subsidies, money to get to build technologies that are initially expensive. So we know that over the past 40 years, there's been a huge role of domestic national policies and also regional policies. So it's not all national. And these have enabled these technologies coming down by huge amounts. Now, what does this mean? What does it mean that we have big technology improvements and that governments have done a lot? Well, it means we need to do more, right? And what we know from, just to give you a couple of examples, some of the things we have in houses, we're all thinking about what are the things that we have access to every day. When we think about solid state lighting, these are just the more efficient light bulbs, right, that a lot of us have in our houses. They came about through about 20 years of research funding, and then regulations that said you cannot have